Humans love to argue about anything. How to draw an X, pineapple on pizza, even how to button your shirt. I start at the bottom, that's why they say button up your shirt. And here's a classic.
If you want to start an argument amongst two people, ask them about tipping.
Mr. Manners, Thomas Farley, says like everything else, the pandemic is changing the way we tip.
Restaurants feeling the pinch are trying to make up for lost time.
We're running down some pandemic-related changes to tipping, and first things first, this isn't about your servers.
Restaurant servers earn below minimum wage. They work for tips, essentially.
And COVID has hit their industry hard.
They were out of work, many of them, for 4, 5, 6 months with no income whatsoever.
So if you're able to, now's a great time to tip generously.
If you are someone who loves to dine out, grumbling about an extra couple of dollars here or there on a tip, I think it's a little bit selfish on our part.
So always be kind to servers. That said, there are some anxiety-inducing shenanigans going on, like tip creep.
15% was considered always the absolute baseline. That gradually nudged up to 18, then up to 20.
Contactless payment has exacerbated the problem.
What I'm noticing on these point-of-purchase tablets is a default option where 15% isn't even listed. 18% is there as the low end of the tip. 20% is showing up as your default, and then you can, of course, go up from there.
The industry is trying to reset the minimum acceptable tip, but don't feel bullied into their self-serving new normal.
It is still up to each individual patron to decide how much to tip. Just because something's defaulting to 20% does not mean that you are required to give that amount. You give 15% really is the bare minimum, but you give up from there.
Next, pandemic-related point-of-purchase changes have increased public tip shaming.
So I have a favorite coffee shop that I frequent, and there's a little point-of-purchase reader for you to put your card in, but they put in the amount.
Because the person punching in the numbers is behind plexiglass.
And so they will ask you out loud, either how much would you like to tip, or would you like to throw a tip on top of that?
In front of everyone else waiting in line.
I don't know many people are going to say, no thank you, out loud, no tip for me.
Hey, nobody likes to be coerced, even into doing the right thing.
They need to do it a lot more discreetly if possible and not make their patrons feel guilty or awful because they're not tipping 15-20% on top of their takeout Danish.
The 30-second act of picking up a bag shouldn't default to the same tip given for exceptional service over a multi-course meal. Finally, look out for additional tip lines. This has happened to me. My wife called in an order, included a hefty tip when she paid over the phone. Then when I picked up the food, there was another tip line on the receipt they made me sign, so I accidentally double tipped. And yeah, I felt like they played a dirty trick on me.
To then be hit with an additional tip, I think is a little bit of overreach on the part of restaurants.
The additional tip label is easy to miss if you're in a hurry.
So make sure we do read those receipts so that you are not being taken advantage of.
Tips for tipping in the pandemic are at the top of the list.